Carla, Mala, Mrs. Ayton, Mrs. Stubblefield, AZ Raccoon, your mom. I want to wish all of you and everyone else a happy Mother's Day. Besides that, I hope you're having a really good day. Guys, I saw this video today that really broke my heart. It seems like every time there's a holiday right around the corner, it seems like you hear about horrible car accidents or horrible, victimizations that happen, right? Horrible crimes. Today I heard about a 60-year-old rideshare driver. I believe he works for Uber. His name is Tiaru Diallo. Tiaru Diallo is 60 years old and he has a 2 or 3 year old boy. I'll show you their pictures. He looks like he's 2 or 3 years old to me. Anyway, why do I mention this guy? Guys, the reason I mention it is because 60-year-old Tiaru Diallo was trying to make extra money over the last handful of years as an Uber driver. A lot of people do that. I never have, you might not have, but we both know in the future, if we ever had to, we could possibly all be Uber drivers at some time in our life, right? So check this out. He gives a ride to 30-year-old, God, this guy's a real piece of crap, 30-year-old Kane Roden. Here's a picture of this scumbucket. And as he was dropping him off, Kane Roden, according to a neighbor that witnessed it all, exited the passenger door, rear door, walked around the backside of the car to the driver's side, where he proceeded to shoot with 2 hands, ending the life of Diallo. Now, what's really sad about this is Diallo's wife looks very, very young. She's the mother and now widow of this Uber driver. She has to go through Mother's Day all by herself. What a horrible way to spend Mother's Day. The North Richland Police Department in the Dallas-Fort Worth area went and arrested Roden. And wait till I tell you about what this scumbag has done. It's one of those things that makes you want to take the judge and it makes you want to throw him under the prison. He's being held currently not only for unaliving Diallo, but he was also going to be held on 2 other charges: violence against family members and violating bond of a protection order. So in other words, people have gotten protective orders against this guy and he's violated those. He's a violent human being, and it seems to me like you have all these legit violent people that are always allowed back into the community and all they do is bad. There's a person there that is supposed to protect us from these people. He's known as the judge. The judge has a real way, whoever the judge is in any state, they have a real way of always saying that they're limited by the laws. I don't buy it anymore. I'm starting to think the judges legitimately don't give a shit. And I think what we need to do is, as people, I think we need to come together and we need to start holding judges accountable. And in some cases, I think we do need to throw the judges in jail for a long time. At what point are you complicit in the crime when you're constantly letting these horrible human beings out? In addition to those 2 other charges he was held on, he has an additional criminal past, which includes aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and also a terroristic threat. You know what I mean? This guy is just a giant red flag. Why was he allowed out? Why are they all allowed out? And all they do is they make anguish and rage in the community, and now people are out there, and this is what they have to look forward to for the next 6 months, trying to get along without their dad, without their husband, without their family members. Not only was he a father of a 3-year-old boy, but he was also a father figure to his niece. His niece had said that he experienced a lot of her memories and her accomplishments growing up. But now he won't be able to experience those future accomplishments, and she can't help but feel like she's being cheated out of those future moments together. And you know something? She is. I think what we ought to do is we ought to say, let's take the death penalty and let's take the life in prison. I think we need to take those choices out of individual state hands. And I think we need to make it a federal law. I know this sounds crazy because no one's going to agree with me, but that's what disappoints me. I feel like we should all agree on this. I feel like we should all say that, hey, one of two things is going to happen if you take another person's life. You're either going to go to jail forever. There is no 30 years and then you come out, or 10 years. That's just cruel and evil to the community and the victims. We're going to say together as a country, you're going to go to prison and you're going to be there forever. Or we need to say, you're going to go to prison and shortly thereafter, they're going to take your life. We're going to go with the death penalty. And that ought to be the two choices that we have, forever and death penalty. And if it were up to me, there would be no forever. It would just be, hey, you take someone's life, we're going to take your life. Then what we ought to do is we ought to take violent crimes, and when you're on probation and you disobey it, we need to start making those crimes really something that's punishable big time. No more 5-year sentences, no more 10-year sentences. We need to start throwing people in prison and just letting them sit there for like a good 25 years. When bad people choose that route in life, they never ever get off that route. There's really no such thing as a good guy that used to be a bad guy. What he really is, in my opinion, is just a bad guy that's just on hiatus right now. He's on vacation. One day you'll look at him the wrong way. One day you'll say the wrong thing. One day he'll slip up and start drinking or something again, right? And there's always going to be an excuse. But it almost always leads to more carnage, grief, misery for the family members. I think we ought to come together and say enough of this. And I think we ought to start taking the decision out of the hands of these parole boards and these judges. And I think we ought to just program artificial intelligence. And we ought to tell the artificial intelligence, these are the two options. You get life or you get death, and take it out of the hands of human beings, because human beings are fallible, and every time we can make a stupid decision, we almost always do. And it's crazy, if you get rid of the recidivism rate, crime darn near disappears. These aren't virgin criminals. They never are. Haven't you noticed every bad guy has a rap sheet a mile long? Those people should just be permanently out of society, and people that take other people's lives should be unalived themselves. And whenever you hear these things, have you guys ever heard that it takes more to have somebody go through the process of the death penalty than it does life in prison? I don't know how our country comes up with this weird hokey math, but however it happens, there's too much bureaucracy there. There's too many lawyers and stuff. It doesn't seem like it should cost that much to have a firing squad or somebody give lethal injection or even an electric chair. Why does that stuff have to cost hardly anything? It doesn't cost the bad guy hardly anything when he decides he's going to take out his victim, does it? The real problem is us. We never change our game plan. The only reason we ever want to change is when we ourselves are victimized. What we need to do is we need to get over that, and we need to come together, and we need to change the world for the better. And I think the best way to do it is to say, hey, at the end of times, there's going to be a battle of good versus evil. We ought to just get that battle started right now. I feel like we could have eliminated probably 2/3 of the murders in this country if we'd quit giving bad people 3rd, 4th, 10th, and 15th chances. By the way, you might have noticed from these pictures, Diallo is a 60-year-old black man, and his life was taken by Rodin, who looks like a 30-year-old white guy to me. So I don't care what race the criminal is. I don't care what color or religion the unaliver is. I think he needs his life taken from him. Here's what's sick. Somebody that's watching this video actually thinks that this guy can be reformed and should be able to come back into society in about 20 years. Do you want to live next to this guy 20 years from now? Do you want to have your family members in his presence 20 years from now? I sure the heck don't. Would you like to be a coworker and be working next to this guy because your company is cool with hiring these criminals, and all of a sudden your life's in danger and you don't even realize it because he's sitting next to you in an office and he's about to snap? I don't. I wish I could be king for 1 year. You guys would be like, my God, this guy's better than the Orange Man and John F. Kennedy. Holy moly, you would see, oh my God, I could make this world so incredible. And I would force walks on you. Oh my God, I don't like this president. He makes me walk all the time. Oh my God. And then a year later, you would be like, oh my God, this president is the best thing ever. Jesse makes us walk. Jesse makes us walk. And the neighbor that saw Roden shoot and take out Diallo's life, her name was Lauren Shoffett, and she actually saw the shooting happen. So hopefully it's an airtight case and the guy ends up either spending the rest of his life in prison or he leaves the planet right away, in my opinion. Her exact words are kind of chilling. She said, I saw a man come from around the passenger side, around the back side of the car. And I saw him shoot with both his hands, almost like he was in a stance, right? Like he had been trained to shoot that way. When you hear somebody talk like that, it's kind of scary. It's so matter of fact. She ended with the reporter by saying, after that, I ran away. You know, that's interesting. Somebody sees you. It's not like you can say, oh my God, and, just sit there filming, right? You got to go call the cops because your life could be in danger, especially if he knows you saw. That's what's so scary about these people. If they're willing to hurt a family member or loved one, and they're willing to hurt a complete stranger, you think just because you're their friendly neighbor, they're not going to take you out too? That's why these people are so dangerous. And that's why if you would have asked me 5 or 10 years ago, I would have told you I think judges are some of the best people in the world. Now, after what I've been talking with you guys about for the past year on these walks, I think judges, I don't know how they sleep. I don't know how they live with themselves. I don't think they do much of a service to the community at all. As a matter of fact, the more I hear about these judges, and I'm talking in criminal courts, I'm sure there's people that can't stand them in family courts and business courts either. But man, these judges, they are not the best of people. And the Bible actually tells us something about judges. Judge not, lest thee be judged, right? Judge not, lest ye be judged. God, I know these sayings all the time. Why I can't seem to regurgitate them while I'm on my walk is crazy. Tamra MC says, may he spend the rest of his life in prison. When I watch a movie and the bad guy does something wrong and they lead him off away into jail, and then all of a sudden, in the movie, he gets to eat a nice meal, right? He gets to sleep. He gets to live for the next 30 or 40 years. And I kind of look at the people that are walking him away, not as the people that are, holding him in the prison. In the movies, I kind of look at it and I say to myself, they're on the same team. They're fighting to keep this guy alive forever. I don't like that crap. My thinking is, why do we allow people to live forever when they play the role of God? If you want to play the role of God, you're going to get the same punishment that Jesus did. And Jesus was God, right? Think about this. Why did Jesus lose his life? He did it obviously to pay for our sins, right? But if you would have asked the Jewish people that sent him to death, it wasn't for that reason. It was because he was saying that he was God. That punishment, was supposed to be death. And they actually chose the criminal, Barabbas. They wanted to keep him alive and throw Jesus away. So again, if you're going to play the role of God, my thinking is we ought to crucify you. It ought to be really a painful last couple days for you. Jameer 1703 says, the judge who let him walk needs to be put in prison. Jameer, we need to audit all judges and we need to start throwing them in prison. I completely agree. All glory belongs to God. G7Y says, notice how they already labeled it highly intoxicated and not violent man or racist man. They already made an excuse for him. All glory belongs to God. He is a white man. He took the life of a black man. Do you agree with me, though, that all people that take the lives of other people should lose their life? Let's take the race out of it. And I agree with you. If they make an excuse for him, let's call it whatever we want to. But let's get his life and take it from him the way he did from Diallo. Let's take this guy's life and let's start taking all people that unalive people and play God. Let's start taking their life. They don't belong in this world. Orun Mia, Gold Panther 3616 says, Uber and Lyft must now keep criminals from using their app moving forward. The drivers are being targeted. I don't know if they can do that, but if they can, and they already knew that some of these people had criminal records, then they should be sued for tens of millions of dollars. Marie James 01 says, intoxicated. See how they already made an excuse for that demon? He's a white devil. I'm not making an excuse for him, though, and I hope the people in Texas don't either. Let's eliminate him from the planet. I don't even think he should be able to stay alive in the prison. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Liberal in Oklahoma says there are no drunks that will swallow fire. That's an old Mexican saying that means no matter how drunk you are, they knew what they were doing. Guys, there's a lot of truth to that. You ever hear people say, oh, I blacked out? I'm not saying blackouts don't happen, but I know for a fact that when people are really drunk, a lot of times it might give them a great dose of courage, but it doesn't necessarily give them amnesia, nor does it give them an excuse. My thinking is we need justice in this country, and I think the only way it's going to happen is if liberals like you're a liberal in Oklahoma, and conservatives like me, I think we need to come together and say, hey, regardless of the person that does it, if you take someone's life, your life is going to be taken as well, because otherwise it just leads to anguish. And what's really crazy is none of us knew Diallo and none of us knew Rodin, yet we're all angry about this together. Why don't we do something about it? And speaking of doing something about it, why don't you guys hit the thumbs up button, hit subscribe, and let's do something about our health and our weight by walking each and every day together. Walk with me today, walk with me tomorrow. I'll see you then.